Hey y'all, welcome back to another video in the new Aviator's Guide to DCS series. In the last video, we went over the process of installing mods, liveries, and kneeboards, a relatively simple process to be sure. If you missed it, I've included a link in the description below. Be sure to take a look at it when you have a chance. In today's video, we are going to go over a fairly well-established add-on, DCS DTC, or data cartridges. DTC implements data cartridge-like functionality for a handful of different aircraft. These data cartridges can be used to do a whole slew of different things, from basic aircraft setup to complicated weapon release programming. It really is a powerful add-on, and one that many aviators utilize on each and every sortie. In order to access the software DTC from the F-18, it's going to be different from each plane, but we're going to do it with just the F-18 for today. Down here, you'll see you have the white balance video off toggle switch here that is not utilized in the game itself. DTC hooks into that specific toggle, and if we toggle it up with a right click, you'll see the DTC interface pop up here. So this interface is an application that you have to run while you're playing DCS, so you may have to launch it separately. So as you can see here, there are 4 different aircraft that this particular add-on works with: the F-16, the F-18 that we're in today, the F-15, and then the Apache. So a lot of these aircraft, as I'm sure you know with flying them, have a lot of programming that's available to them. So depending on which aircraft you use will depend on what types of programming you have available to you. So in the F-18, like I said, that's the one that I fly the most, so we're going to use that as the example today. There's a slew of different options that you have available. So you'll have this sets of presets that you'll be able to add, remove, clone, etc., etc. And then once you actually go inside a preset, so let's clone this one just for the sake of the video for today. Once you're actually inside the preset itself, you can go into the individual settings for that specific preset. So for the the F-18, the options you have available are waypoints, sequences, countermeasure systems, radios, fire control radar, pre-planned coordinates for your JSOWs, JDAMs, etc. You can actually clear all that out there. Your helmet mounted display information, and then some miscellaneous settings, including your bingo, your bullseye, etc. So this particular one that I have set up right now is set up as a template. So I set it up in such a way that I can use this as part of my startup routine for the F-18. And the reason I do this is that I'm able to start up the jet, have the jet start doing the INS alignment, start loading the DTC data cartridge, and by the time the INS alignment is done, the rest of the jet is set up and ready to go and working perfectly. So in here, I've got a whole slew of different ones that we use with Joint Task Force Heavy. So these are some common frequencies that we use for the boat, for the strike frequency, and then for some of the different squadrons that will be flying with us, as well as your AWACS, your tankers, that sort of stuff that you have here. So it really is dependent on what you're going to individual group that you play with is going to use it with, or use it for rather. It entirely depends on what you want to do. The sky's kind of the limit here as to what you can do. Let's get rid of this guy out of here because we don't need that either. So fire control radar. So this is your setting up your radar settings when you switch to the different air-to-air weapons, as well as enabling the RWR and enabling the BRA on your HUD and what have you. Pre-planned coordinates. So depending on the type of munition that you're using for air to ground, you can set up your pre-planned coordinates here. You can also set up steer points for things like the slammer that allows you to accept a steer point. So that's a little bit of a more complicated setup option, but that gives you the ability to input the different waypoints that you have that you can set with DTC, and then input those in as steer points for that weapon system. Super, super powerful. Your HMD, you can set up the reject mode, whatever you want to do, what you have on each mode. And then the miscellaneous settings, like I said, I always set a bingo. I always set the bullseye to 59 because for the F-18 and DCS anyways, waypoint 59 automatically gets set as the bullseye based on the mission. Your barrel alt, your radar alt, laser code settings, if you have those that you are going to set up, to common codes. You can do that, your TACANs, all of these different options here. That's pretty much it for this particular one. The only other option you have to worry about here is the upload settings. So whatever's checked here is what's going to be actually imported into the jet when you go to turn the jet on and you choose to start uploading that information. So we're going to leave that as is. Let's get rid of this display and let's start up the jet. So we're going to start up the jet as per usual. This is a bit of a quicker startup than I think a lot of people do with the jet, because to be honest with you, I'm playing a video game. I'm not trying to replicate real life. Some people want to do a more real to life representation startup. Me personally, I just want to get in the jet, get the jet running and up in the air as quickly as possible. So I use this as a much quicker method. As you can see, I basically set up all the displays, turn on everything while my engine's cranking. And as soon as the right engine's done cranking, I'm going to switch over and start cranking the left engine immediately. That way I know that we're getting up and running as quickly as possible. If you have liked the video so far in this series, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and comment. I do tend to read every comment that comes up, so don't hesitate to drop a line below.
Flight controls. Flight controls.
Stop that guy. And then here's the real kicker. We're going to go in, we're going to go to HSI, we're going to start our stored heading. While the stored heading is doing its thing, left engine's now turning on. So there's two different ways you can upload the settings from DTC. You can either go back in here and go upload right here. You can click this button and that will start the upload process. Or on the F-18, again, it's going to be different plane to plane, but on the F-18, if you look at the IP button on your UFC, again, not something that's utilized in the game itself, but something that DTC has hooked in. So if you press and hold that button there for a few seconds, it'll show up DTC upload in progress. So as you can see now, I am completely hands off. It is doing its thing. It's uploading all of the different settings that I chose in that template. So all of my radar altitude, my baro altitude, the radio frequencies, and all of that is going to be imported now while the jet is turning on, and while, more importantly, I'm still counting down here with my INS alignment. So because it's going to be importing like 8 or 9 different radio channels, we might not get it ready to go immediately by the time INS is done, but we'll be pretty close. The other thing to keep in mind, essentially what's happening here is DTC is running a macro of key presses. As you can see, as you're watching, all the different interfaces are moving around as if you're actually clicking the buttons on the MFDs and on the UFC and what have you. So it's essentially a macro that's playing. So if you go ahead and click something while the upload is in progress, it's going to interfere with the upload and it might actually screw it up. So the big thing to do here is just let the upload go. And once this DTC upload in progress goes away, you know you'll be pretty close to being, or you'll be done. So we're done there. Upload's done. I'm gonna reset my flight control systems here, and we're good to go. INS is done aligning, and we are ready to roll. Aside from my track IR being absolutely wonky. So the second interface that I didn't go over before, I kind of jumped ahead a bit here, but the second interface is on the F10 map. So we'll load up the F10 map here. Same as any other F10 map in DCS, nothing too fancy here. The real difference is now is if you use the keybind for DTC, which is Control-Shift-D, you get this new interface that'll pop up here. And the new interface comes along with a crosshair. And as you click and drag and hold the map moving around, you'll notice that the coordinates for that crosshair are changing in conjunction with the where that crosshair is pointed. So if I go, we'll go up here to, oh, I don't know, let's go to the Groom Lake. Why not? So Groom Lake, for whatever reason, we want direct coordinates on this pad right here. So the further you zoom in, the more accurate your point is going to be. And in here, you've got a couple different options. You can add a steer point, you can add a target point, you can add a pre-planned point, you can clear, send it to DTC, or send it to DTC and the jet, and reset them all. So as a steer point, think of this as a waypoint. So we added a waypoint here. So now we got steer point 01, north 37 degrees, 14.007, west 115 degrees, 48.270 at 4,473 feet. So now we got two different options. We can either just send it to DTC, or we can send it to DTC and the jet. So we will do both. So we're going to send it to DTC and the jet. So we're going to press this button. We're now doing another upload. So we'll go back to the jet. And as you can see, it's filtering through the mark points to get to waypoint number 0. And it's going to import that waypoint that we just put in to waypoint 0. And then if we go into the interface, we now have steer point 0 with the lat and long and the elevation that we clicked there. Exact same process for this to do with pre-planned coordinates. So pre-plan 1, 2, 3, 4. And you see on here that it's listed as station 2, 3, 7, and 8. So these pre-planned systems here will change depending on the aircraft you're flying. So for the F-18, stations 2, 3, 7, and 8 are the only ones that you are able to import pre-planned coordinates to. So in this case, we're going to just send it to DTC. So we'll press that button there. Get rid of that interface. Open you. So now you can see we've got grayed out checkboxes here. If we change this to a GBU 38 or JSA or something that will accept GPS coordinates, it will now open up, and then you can see the lat long and then the actual more precise and MGRS and all the different versions that you have there for that. And you can do up to 6 pre-plans just like you could in the regular jet. The big key here is you don't have to punch any of that information in yourself. Okay, so the last thing we're going to go over with DTC is the ability to share your individual setups and loadouts here. So in the load and save section here in the interface, it's got two different options, clipboard and file. I have never been able to get the load from clipboard to work properly, so I suggest using a file. So save to file, so we're going to check off absolutely everything, even if there's no settings that we specifically used. I'm going to do save to file, and it's going to come up with a document. As you can see, I've got some other ones here that I've used. So I'm going to name it FA18C template. Let's call it startup template. So what that's going to do is it's going to save a JSON file of all the individual settings that you have chosen in all of these categories here. To use it, we're going to go back to the F-18 presets section. We're going to click add. We're going to click type in a name. Doesn't matter what you call it. You can name it whatever you want. Press OK. We're going to go to that load and save column again and under file. And instead of doing a save to file, pretty straightforward, we're going to do a load from file. So choose the file here. We're going to find the file we use, so FA18 startup template. It's going to automatically check all of these, and make sure you click this apply button here. Otherwise, it's not actually going to upload that template for you. So press apply. Once that screen's gone away, it's done its magic and everything's loaded up. So all of those settings that we had chosen before are now transferred over to this brand new profile that we called test. That's it for our walkthrough of DTC. Like I said, this is an extremely powerful add-on, and we only scratched the surface with today's video. Having the ability to enter complex steer points for your SLAM ER, or the ability to share a data cartridge with your other flight members is extremely helpful. I hope you found today's video informative. Please feel free to drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos coming up soon.